Excellent, thank you, Heather. Next, we have a lad named Roderick, who as a child had become quite a maverick. He studied day and night, so he was able to take flight and escape poverty as a financial big stick. That was brought on by Roderick spoke about his first speech, about how he overcame and he educated himself and he's moved up in the world, and that's kind of what I thought about when I wrote that one. He's doing project 2 called Organize Your Speech. And the title is, well, we have Roger Francis with the title of Satisficing Your Appetite. Satisficing Your Appetite, Roger Francis.
So, I started that day, that class, ready to give a presentation on my analysis of Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It was my turn. As I began to walk my way up to the podium, I was dodging and squeezing through the little desks, trying to avoid everyone. Back then, I was much bigger than I am now. I know, hard to believe. And as I continued to walk up there, I remember a student just uttering underneath his breath, "That's a big guy." And as soon as I got up there, I was mortified, I was ashamed, I felt like I was giving a public speech like I am now. But at that same time, I began to search the depths of my psyche. I tried to come up with some recusal to get away from the shame that had ensued, that his comment had ensued. And at that point, I realized, I said to myself, it wasn't my fault. That was my excuse. That was everything I said. I attributed my weight to my childhood and upbringing. From my first speech, you can all recall, I endured a life of poverty. My mother worked hard to pay the bills, but that was it. It was simply just to pay the bills. We didn't have enough food on the table or anything. So whenever food was presented, whenever I was permitted, I would eat. And so I attributed that to my psychology, and that's how I became the way I am. I satisfied my behavior. With each bite, I said it was okay, I don't know when I'm gonna eat again, so this is what I'm gonna do. I also have a slow metabolism, so I said it wasn't my fault that I'm this big. It's also easier and more convenient to go out to the fast food restaurant and order something off the dollar menu as opposed to trying to find all the healthy ingredients and trying to put something together and make it work. So it was just easier to be the way I was. And for the longest time, I had satisfied my appetite. Until one day I stepped on the scale and it read that I was 295 pounds. I was immensely ashamed, more ashamed than that day. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to work at it. I didn't work at it hard, I just said I was going to try and do it. You know, appeasing the wheels in my head, saying it's okay to be the way I am because I'm gonna fix it. So my weight fluctuated. I was down to 265, and then I was down to 245, but then I was back up to 265, and then I was 235, and then I was back up to 255. So for the longest time, I struggled with my weight. I tried all these so-called miracle diets, trying to shed the pounds and everything, and though they did work, they didn't help me keep the weight off. I became insecure. I began doing these little things whereby I gave the illusion that I wasn't as big, and I told myself people will believe it if I think it. So I wore like these bigger clothes to give the illusion that I'm not that big because my clothes don't fit me, but I was like a 3X then wearing like a 4X, so it didn't work. So I had to restructure my psyche. I had to ask myself, why am I this way? I said, how do you change who you are conditioned to be? When I should have been asking, how do you change what you conditioned yourself to be. I shifted the blame away from myself. I satisfied each craving. I justified what I was doing. And it made me happy for a while, but it was an overall detriment to my health. As anyone knows, you run the risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, those sort of complications. Fortunately for me, I didn't for some odd miracle reason. But I stopped trying to validate the why. I stopped trying to come up with a reason for it to be okay to be the way I am. I was given the virtue of a humble upbringing, but as anyone knows, any virtue taken to the stream becomes a vice. It became my crutch, but today, after realizing that I am 205 pounds this morning, I've still got a long way to go. I joined the gym, I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm satisfied as opposed to satisficing my behavior. So, if you can, let's see, don't satisfy your hunger, rather do something to curb your appetite. And speaking metaphorically, obviously, this can be applied to any habit you want to mend and rectify. Don't think that just because life steered you down a road that it's that is the only road you can go down. So that is my speech. Thank you.